Hey there YouTubes, just playing around on my tunes more. Obviously, I guess you might have seen my bass change a bit over the last few days. Been doing lots on it, so I've been playing around with more wall combinations, doing more things. You guys know how I do things. Now, I know lots of people want to know how I come up with new combinations, how I figure out things. Well, there's a few sets of rules you need to understand about walls and things like that, and their placement, and how to almost guarantee that they're not going to attack a wall, or what's worthy of the risk. So, let's get a few things straight here. So this is Town Hall 17. Okay. So this is one of the new setups that I'm using, and I will show you and explain to you some of the reasons why I'm doing this and why I've modified it from my last one. I wanted to guarantee that they were never going to come through the walls in the corners. Now in the past you've seen I've used, let me take some of the stuff away. You've seen where I've used a setup like this, where it has a gap of 2. And that's because, you know, we were limited on walls and you have to trim corners. Now, trimming that corner, you still, for the most part, they will not attack there. For the most part, they would not attack here. But sometimes they would. See, by having this, you're risking it. By having a corner like that, you're risking it. But you're risking it so you can have more walls to do other things with to push you even further. Now what if you get to a point where you have enough walls for your core base? Then you can do more things like this, where I'm doing like some exotic things, where I do fill in those spaces, where I make it guaranteed they are not going to hit there. They're not going to hit there. They're also not going to hit here, even though I've removed that one. If you want to guarantee absolutely 100% sure, fill in the gap. But the thing is, I've never seen them attack this. But with it being one gap, one thick though, your heroes can hop that wall. So that comes to the point where you want to guide your heroes then as well. There's different focal points. And what I mean by focal points, you see this zigzag here, okay? This zigzag becomes a focal point right here. My heroes want to attack when they get right here. When they come in this little area here, which then forces my heroes to go through the zigzag as well and not hop the wall. Now, my heroes could want to hop the wall if I did not also force their heroes to take a certain path. Now let's say, let's take a spawn point. This is a common spawn point over here. Let's say if their heroes spawned over here. They would come down, and let's say these walls, let's put our wall back over on this side. Let's just put one there. Currently, as it's set up right now, the heroes would actually come down and then go in a straight line. Not touching the flowers, we're going in a straight line, and then go straight down here and not hug the wall here. And they'll take this straight line right into the base. So now, let's see why that is important. Look where our circles end up. So, they come down, they miss this first initial circle out here. And then they come around, and then they're here. And you see the circle there? They don't hit that as well. So my heroes don't even recognize these guys until they're actually right here and about to go in the hole. And once they're in the hole, all my heroes aggro. And this is changing the focal point. Now if I were to move this in one, let's just say we did move it in one, it would look something like that. We'd be reversing, you know, we're just pretending. We're gonna put that back. So the focal point would start down here, over here. My heroes would see them right away. My heroes would actually see them when they're right about here, And that would actually make my heroes think, well, wait a second, I got to run through all this stuff. They're actually going to want to hop the wall. You run the potential of them depending upon your hero base level. So you got to factor in your hero base level. You have to factor in what kind of troops you're going to be fighting. Are they air? Are they? You got to factor in those things. So right now we're talking about focal points. You can have the focal point here, and that's what I would suggest. So let me put the focal point back to where I had it. Say it 10 times fast. All right. So focal point is back where I like it. Now you're going to see that we have two walls out here, and that's because, as you can see, how far the bubble extends out that way. This reduces the amount of risk and likelihood of our Spirit Mage wanting to go out. So that's good. It's also focusing the fire purely almost into our corridor. And that really, they're slowed down when they're going through this corridor. Their zigzagging slows them down a bit. And that really keeps the focus fire as well as AoE from Thunder God to be more useful. Because Thunder God is not useful if he just hits one target. This way that we're compacting them all together nicely in a clump is guaranteeing that Thunder God's proc is going to be more useful. A lot of people run into the problem where Thunder God becomes not that great. That sucks, right? You want Thunder God to be awesome. You don't want him to be a weakling. So, factor that in. Do factor that in. Same thing for other AoEs like Imhotep and things like that. This opening and the way we focus it is depending on. So, earlier in the game when I had lower level hero bases, my focus point was closer in, so I had this actually built on that side, and you guys have seen that in my other videos. Now it sticks out a bit more because my hero bases are higher, and that focus point is just, you know, right at the edge of where that line is. And you see, now the same thing happens on this other end. I, you know, mirrored it to the other side. So what this does is, you can see how close I have these here. And you can see that, well, aren't you afraid of basically having a wave G and then having all of a sudden the mechas come this way? No, I'm not afraid. Why? Because the mechas are not going to come into that circle. They're not going to pull the aggro until they're in my little trap here. So this entryway, which is, you know, very weak when other people... other designs have the Mecha Men coming into the entryway. The Mecha Men can be right here in the entryway, and their heroes can be right here, and my heroes are not going to pull the aggro of their heroes. That's also why I have it clumped up the way that I do here. This clumping is just so I can get rid of all the buildings in one wave. The buildings do nothing for me. I don't really utilize them. I just try and utilize my core base. I'm not even trying to defend these. I don't care. Currently, I don't care. Because I have a Smurf. My Smurf feeds my main, and my main gets whatever the heck it wants from my Smurf. So my main's like, whatever. Take my gold, take my mana. I can get it back fairly quickly from my Smurf. So, this is a new design, and you know, there's always going to be more. This is mainly for G and below. Okay? For H and above, it can work for H, but for H you're going to have high heroes. For I, there's more modifications that are needed for I. It does work, but then you have to play around with the buildings more. Remember we were talking about earlier about the building placement? You got to then factor in 4 waves. And what I did for doing more eye waves or whatever with it, is I stacked them more in the corners. Okay, and that seems to work a little bit better for H and I. I haven't made it too far in I yet because I really haven't been trying as much as I would care to. H, the same thing as with H, you would want to actually utilize your buildings. I usually clump them in the corner areas. So clump it in one corner, clump it in another corner, and then basically that slows down the rival of heroes versus the rival of the chopters and stuff, the omnicopters. So you want them to sort of hit at different times. You want to sort of get your main punches in on those omnicopters before they even have a chance to do much damage to you. And they happen pretty much in the first 3 waves, if I remember correctly. So you got to factor that in. So there you go on that. And of course, when I do those H and above levels, I tend to have this all garrisoned up. All right. So that's the concept here. There is other concepts as well. So sometimes this outer wall here, you can just bring it down to, instead of usually in the past, when I'm trying to save walls, I'd go down to 2 like that. You can also go down to 1, and that even more so greatly reduces your risk. And a full wall, that pretty much they're not going to attack here. There's still a very small chance that they might. Okay. Now let's talk about another version of the wall. We've all used it. We've all done it. Let's just do it quick fast here. Let's kick out this stack. Let's put in that. And you'll see that it's a 2 gap here, because I put the flower in there. Of course, you should have walls on that side too. Let's put those in there for the time being. And this does, for the most part, keep things away. But the closer you get this wall, this outer wall, the closer that this is to a spawning point, the more likely they will attack this and just come right through. So the closer that this wall is to this outer edge, is the more likely they will attack and go through the wall. Also, if you're going to do this and have a wall like that, you're going to want decoy buildings in each of the 4 corners. Okay? Because then that way you're not having them attack the wall, you're having them attack your decoy buildings and then go around. That's even more so guarding against them attacking that wall. It's a risk. Having 2 walls is a risk, but it gives you a benefit that you get to play with more walls in other places. Risk benefit, okay? Risk benefit. Sometimes it's worth it to risk it for a great benefit. Risk benefit, risk benefit. All right, let's get back to doing some stuff here. Let's put this back. So that is the 2 walls, if we're thinking about that, which I know plenty of you have probably seen me do in my earlier videos. And it works, it does, but it comes with risk. How to eliminate that risk? Well, with 3 walls, they're pretty much not going to attack this. It's still possible for them to. Extremely unlikely, though. Even more extremely unlikely because we put these here. The reason why it's extremely unlikely is because there's nothing over here to aggro it. Now, what makes it sometimes possibly happen is if you got this spirit mage just wandering off like la 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 and coming out here. But it has to go pretty far to get out there, and that's usually highly unlikely for that to happen. But it can. But having these little things out here actually discourages anything from happening. So, there you go. Alright, walls, walls, walls. Fun, walls, walls, walls. Now, you might think, why did I put this flower here? Okay. I'll tell you, there's actually a good reason for that. It actually makes them zigzag a bit more. So when they come to the flower point, they're walking this straight line, and then they go actually a smidge out more, and then they come back down a smidge, so it makes even more of a zigzag. So using these things, they actually do use them as obstacles. They also use this as an obstacle, and that's why I put this right here. So let's say there's a spawn point right here. They're not going to go straight through it and actually into it. They're actually going to go like this. So it's actually, they're going to zigzag around this. They're not going to go through it. So, pretty things can be used as ways of guiding them around. So all our little things that we get over here, our decorations, our little pretty things, can actually be used to your advantage because they do path around them in the way. So that's why I actually have these little spacers out here. This spacer on the side doesn't do anything, but this one is just for prettiness. Same thing with this one over here. This one actually does something. This one does something. Okay. This one does nothing. And you can see why, because they are going to naturally take that path up anyway, because they have to for that. But for this, they artificially take that path up because of that. Who knows? They might change in the future, so everything I say here could potentially change. That's the beauty of it. This game constantly changes. So that's some of the playing around that you got to think about. So let's show you what we can get going on with this. So for the most part, I've been using this base for formatting it. But since all my heroes are fairly well leveled now, you can see they're all starred except Pumpkin. I've been now 5-manning it again just to get the guaranteed. When you're 4-manning it and you're 3-manning it, you're running the risk of death. Horrible, horrible death from random spawn points that are horrible. See, because sometimes you can get a spawn point where they spawn, let's say they spawn here all 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or no, they spawn once up here in the top corner. They eat through all my stuff, then go and attack here. Then the other 4 all spawn down here, which then attack out this, and then take that out. Having CG and higher, having really bad spawn points all in the same spot, runs the risk of a loss. It doesn't guarantee a loss, it just, you run the risk more of a loss. And others will probably tell you the same. It's hard to get guaranteed G kills and hard to get guaranteed H kills because spawn points matter so much. And then I and J spawn points matter a ton. Usually the people that go for I and J are really hoping and praying for really good spawns to get the kills. So spawn points matter a ton when you get to the higher ones. But in the lower levels, this works, just fine. So all that chit chat. What does this mean? What does this mean? Let's take a look at it and see what other people have done. Now, I've seen the adaptation of similar bases to mine now, doing I and J, and they're already thinking ahead to things that I already knew. There's certain when you're doing I and J, you need a lot more tank buildings. So your center becomes a lot bigger, and also your town hall needs to be way higher. So I and J, you're going to really want higher town hall, and you're really going to want lots of beautiful walls, and you're going to want more tank buildings. And also your hero bases are going to be maxed, and your towers are going to be maxed. Mine aren't yet. Some of them are going to become maxed very shortly, like this one's going to be maxed, this one's going to be maxed shortly. This one's on its way up, because it's brand new. I just, I hit town hall 17, so I'm leveling that guy. And these are going to be on their way shortly enough. So, lots of talking. Let's get down to business here. So, walls, 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 and more walls. You see how walls are playing a point. The more walls you have, the more you can focus your heroes down certain corridors, certain paths, things like that. As well as if you can clump your heroes together even more, you can get more out of them. Right now we're using this as a focal point, but there's other focal points that you can use as well. Others have known this, figured this out, and I'll show you what I mean. Focal points are useful into guiding where your heroes are going to go. Now, I was telling you about that. Now let's show you what it looks like for someone who does it better than me, because their heroes are higher level than mine, their town hall is higher level than mine, and their tank buildings are higher level than mine. Well, other than this one, my guild hall is actually finally maxed out. So when they attack from this side, I don't even care. It has so much HP. I'm like, pff, they can attack from this side 3 times or 4 times, and I don't care. My town hall is that awesome. And that's why your tank buildings are important. Very important. Anything that's inside your core base is very important. You want it to be higher. So I gotta level this bad boy up. I gotta level this up. And I gotta obviously level all these up, which is gonna take some time, because I don't have that many builders. Having more builders is actually quite important. It's very important. And this design here also allows you to, if they ever do put in the 6th hero, you see you remove these bombs here, and then ta-da, place in move these over all one, and you'll have space for another one at the other end. And it'll come to the same effect where you can see that still our spacing works quite well. Alright, so that's enough to chatter about future events. Let's put in some bombs, show you a G. You know I've been clicking G quite well, so let's see what we got. Looks good, looks good. Not seeing any issues. I think I did everything I need to do. Alright. And so, let's show you some of the people that have been doing fairly well. So let's look at this person's base. So you can see they're doing like a zigzag thing, which makes sense because you want to slow them down. And you want the tanky towers. Now they're doing more of like a double D setup there. So this person's testing out a few, and they're doing 4 there, you can see, and they're doing 3 thick, 2 thick on the sides, got a zigzag. Those are all very, very important things. Let's see what other people are doing. And this one has more of a corridor approach, sort of similar to ours. And they're doing their focal point to be the ends of the corridor, and to actually have the heroes run the corridor with them. And they're using their buildings as tanks. So that's some of the ideas that they got going on there, which makes sense, I think. Let's see, and I think most people are still using Clover or some variant of. I think this one's just doing it for giggles. Either that or they hacked it. Let me see their base levels. There's no reason that they did this other than making it pretty. I don't see how it would be useful. Yeah, I don't think this is legit. I don't think it's legit. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I doubt that highly. All right, let's go back. Let's see King ZZ what he wants up, what he's up to. So he's got the more of a Clover setup there. So you can see they got the zigzags, they got stuff like that. So this has been more of a fairly common one. Obviously, they're just using their bases as the tank, and that's very important. Get your bases up. So let's see what this does. So we obviously want ours to be more tanky as well. That's tanky now. This one really needs to get up, and this one really needs to get up. They attack on this side, it can survive a few. They attack here, it can survive a few. It's here and here that are my weak spots. Now if I put my towers out there, of course it Makes it survive a bit more. But I also like keeping my towers in the center just for more firepower when they come through that corridor. But that's how I play. I've played with it on the outside, I've played with it on the inside. They're both fine. Do what you like. So, let's get down to doing some stuff. Let's do a G for giggles. Maybe we should do an H for giggles. So you can see the Mecha Men. They're going to take a path straight to the entrance. Well, are they? They're zigzagging their way through the buildings. You can see they're going to get to the focal point now. Now they gain the aggro. And you can see that my buildings, the way that they're placed, keeps them away from the entrance. So even though my heroes are there, they're not gaining the aggro of their heroes. And you could see them, you can see how they zigzag around that plant there. And I told you how that would happen, and there you go, they did. They zigzagged around the plant on that side, which makes them walk even further. We're slowing them down. And that's giving more times for arrow towers to peg at them, and also more time for the heroes to arrive in different segments. You can see the ninja's going to come in first, and then everything else is going to be clumped up. And then ta-da, it's cleared up nicely. So that's the gist of that. And then we got to show you what it looks like. So now watch the flowers. Well, the flowers on the side doesn't matter as much. So you can see how they path around. And now unfortunately, most of my stuff did go for the birds, but watch when they come. There you go. They're not going to do too much damage to that town hall. Not the town hall, guild hall or whatever. It's beautiful. Like I said, when they spawn on that side, I'm not too worried because my thing is a ton of HP, man. That's a lot of HP. Alright, now you can see the tower takes a bit more damage, but it can take a round or two. On my Smurf, it actually does better because I have Immortep, and Immortep just stuns everything. My Smurf has better tunes than my hero. Ooh, because that guy hopped out, there's going to be a little bit of a change here. So that thing's going to die but resurrect. That's why actually I put that there. Usually you want flyers to be on the outer edge or true range, because true range won't hop the wall. They'll fire at them over the wall. But I put that there because, well, I don't have another one. My Smurf has better heroes than my main. It's sad. It's sad. In fact, my Smurf is about to have better everything than my main. So, once again, I put this one out there because she can resurrect herself. Usually I put range there, but my only other range is my druid, and I like having my heals close to my other stuff as well. So that's why I put her there. Usually I wouldn't use, on my Smurf, I wouldn't use her whatsoever. Cupid would be there. Cupid. Cupid. Not her. I need a Cupid. I really need a Cupid. Oh, IGG, please give me a Cupid. On this account, of course. That's enough complaining and whining. So, back to the setup and what we're dealing with here. Alright. So, how could you get this similar setup to work for, let's say, a Town Hall 16? What if you had a Town Hall 16? Well, I'll trim this off. I would trim that off. And what if you still had high level bases here? Well, if you did, like I said, trim here, trim there, 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 and trim there. I believe that's 10. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's 10. So you could do something like this. And depending on which side you have a good range here that's not going to hop out the wall, you'd put your, you'd do this side, you'd swap. So I would probably swap this with Spirit Mage, because Spirit Mage would float and be nice and shoot over the wall. Alright, so, or you could just, you know, move the walls down here. Either way, same concept. You would still give the gap. Now, why did I put this here? Because you don't want them to take this path. So let's grab a wall from the other side. You don't want them to go like and then hug the wall again and come in. When it's like this with the wall here, they're gonna go and pop out, then go in. Now let's say you took away the wall like we did on this other side. It's going to go like this. Then they're going to hug the wall and go in. So, you got to think about that. So, and this is what you could do for Town Hall 16. You could have something set up like this. And this is just guaranteeing that they're not going to attack those outer walls. Your focal point is set up so they're not going to hop. Your heroes are not going to come out and hop the wall. They're going to instead go through the zigzag. Now this is being more of a safe base. Playing it safe. Why play it safe? Well, because it's useful to do that. Now, how to be 100% safe? How to make sure they never, ever, ever, ever attack the wall? Well, that would be 4 thick. But 4 thick is just... not worth it. It's just, I can't recommend it. Back in the day when you did the corner setup, it was more recommendable. You know, 4 thick was the thing to do back in the day. When you're doing the corner setup, I mean, make it thick as possible. And you would have less tank buildings as well. But now, we are granted the ability to have more tank buildings. And it's useful to set it up this way. So this is sort of a setup that you can do for Town Hall 16 or 17. And it works quite well. So, something to look at. Maybe even Town Hall 15 we could play around. So let's see what it would take to do Town Hall 15. Let's see what we would have to remove. Now with Town Hall 15, it'd suck a bit more, I'll tell you that. So let's see what we would have to play with. Not much, would we? Look how much you have to trim to get to Town Hall 15. So you can get rid of that. And you can get rid of that. And ta-da! You got a bit more. That's you're still not risking it as much here. You are risking it from them coming through here, but your focal point is still changed. You're running the risk of them hopping the wall. Not that much of a risk, but it's still there. And you're running a small risk of them attacking the corner here. They would attack this right here. No, not that one. That one. Very small chance, though. So here's some setups if you want to be a little less risky. But still, you know, do what you need to do. Get your business done. Kill some stuff. So that's some setups for Town Hall 15 through 17 if you wanted to play around. There you go. You got some new stuff. I think it'd be quite useful. And that's if you're trying to play it more safe, because you want the guaranteed shards, you want the guaranteed EXP. Me, I do play a bit more risky, and that's because, you know, for the most part. But now that I've been 3-manning it, 4-manning it, I like a little bit less risk, because 3-manning it and 4-manning it requires less risk to pull it off. Now when 3-manning it, I find that I don't need these things out here. I don't need these walls when I 3-man it. I do need one wall when so I can take it down to this when I'm 4-manning it, and when I'm 3-manning it, I can just remove that. And I can use those walls for over here, extending the lane. But that's what I found. So that's sort of the wall placement and the ideas that we have going on there. Other thoughts to think about and future builds. What to do when you get more walls. Well, some people stop and do like a little entrance line. So you can do like a little weird entrance line thingy to get them to zigzag a bit more. But I don't know. I'll have to see when I get there. I can play with it more. But this is pretty good for, well, there is another thing that could be done that I already know, and I've showed you in my other video, where you can extend it further this way, this wall, bring it out, have even more buildings in here as more tank buildings, which is basically taking the route. And I was telling you and showing you that the other time. Was that my smart for? No, it was on my main when I was doing the 4-man video, and I was showing you a method where you can move this out, move that out, and have more buildings in there. You can do that as well, and then have more of a setup like I think it was this guy, maybe. Nope, that's the one that I questioned. This guy. You can see that you have more in the center. More tanks in the center. And that's what allots you. And that's a valid option, having more buildings to be tanks. So, and that's if you expand and make your base fatter. Now he opted to have less of the zigzag entrance and went more for a path, but that's eliminating the chances of his heroes hopping the wall. If your heroes hop a wall, they gain aggro. So that's most likely why he chose this channeled path method, so they never ever hop the wall. So they just they would go down the line and right in, so they would have more of a straight path. Zigzagging and stuff like that runs the risk of them hopping the wall, your heroes hopping the wall to get to their heroes and not going through the zigzag. He just reduced the risk is all. But that is making more of a straight shot. Making a straight shot, you then run the risk of, well, them running so dang fast into your base and chewing you up. But since he has higher level stuff in his base, they're more tanky, so it doesn't matter as much. So that's this person's logic and what they went with. Which makes sense, it does. Not complaining against it. So, there you go. That's their logic and what they used. What else? I think that's so that's some ideas 15 through 17, if you like. So hopefully this was a little bit instructional enough if you wanted to make more of a secure, safe base. Some of the other bases I've built before, you know, are more risky. You know, I pushed it more. And I showed you how you could be more risky and how you could push it more. trying to help you with walls and how to make your decisions and how to do stuff. So when you have 3 walls, you can have a gap of 1 and you're fine. When you have 2 walls, you need a gap of 2. You need to fit your flower in there. So since we have 2 walls on the side, you need to have a gap of 2. You could move it closer, and if you do, you run the risk of them attacking the walls. It'll happen quite often. So, and this I've just learned from trial and error. Okay. How did I figure out what didn't work? Well, I tried it and it didn't work. How did I figure out what worked? I tried it and it worked. that's. I've been willing to toy around, and because I have so many accounts, I can toy around on some of my cruddier accounts and then test it on my main account. So if it works on my cruddier account, I'm like, does it work on my main? And that's sort of how I led the path here. Now, the outer buildings, a lot of people ask what to do with the outer buildings. If you have 2 walls thick, if your outer wall here is 2 walls thick, group them in 4 clumps on the outer edge. 1 clump here, 1 clump there, and obviously a clump on the other side, just the same. Clump them up. If you have 3 walls thick like this, and you have the other stuff, it doesn't matter as long as you don't have the heroes in your range to have them pop aggro. So let's say if I move this here, I'm running the risk of my heroes then attacking whatever's attacking this building. If you have your bases too close to your walls, your heroes will, like we said earlier, what we do not want heroes to do is hop the wall. If your buildings are too close and they're in your aggro zone of your heroes will hop the walls, and then they will die. So a lot of people say, oh, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working, and then you take a look and their bases are smack up against it. You could get away with it being smack up against it if your hero base is lower. But you can see that this hero base is higher, so it can't be right there. Okay? That's why. Now let's take a look at other things to be considerate of. So, as you can see, you always got to be considerate of where your circle ends. So, what if I just threw this over here? And what if this base was like right there? Well, ta-da, this hero might want to come out and attack it. You have to put your bases in such a way that they're not drawing attention of your heroes. They're drawing attention of your towers, but not your heroes. The only time you want them to draw the attention of your heroes is when they're going to be tanking. I want this building to draw the attention of the other guy's heroes. Same thing with this one. These are my tank buildings. My tank buildings, I want to grab the attention of their heroes, because then they're appropriately in the area I deem to be safe for my heroes to attack. If my hero went out here and attacked, it'd be by its lonesome and it would die a horrible death. We don't want that. And you can see that these air towers get to peg off quite a bit on them, and that's good. Alright. Because we make the core base so good, and once you get to a particular point where your core is doing good, buildings on the outside do not matter. You could line them up on the outer edge all the way around the circle, and it'd be the same thing as lining them up around the mid, because your core is what's powerful. You want the stuff here to be able to kill whatever it makes before it makes it to the building. My Smurf does this quite well because it is very AoE heavy. My main, unfortunately, I'll get it up. Just, man, I spent lots of real life money on some rolls, and I'm horrible at it. Oh. I need Cupid, I need Imhotep, I need all these things. I need Reaper, blah, 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 blah. I need lots of stuff. And I just don't know how to roll. It's fine. My Smurf, on the other hand, look at it. It's got every hero that I could possibly want. That's why my Smurf is, it's gonna beat my main very quickly. So, now, walls are not the only thing that's important. Of course, your heroes are important. Needing to know your weakness and your strengths of your heroes. Being melee, they're more weak. Being ranged, they're stronger. Ranged, just rock. Because a ranged hero is not going to hop the wall as often as a melee would. A melee are going to be the ones that hop the wall. Ranged, usually not likely, because they're going to just shoot. They're going to come up here and pew, 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 and kill everything down. They're going to shoot from a distance. Pew, pew more, right? So, ranged are better in that effect. And that's why Reaper's awesome. Spirit Mage is awesome. Druid is awesome. Because they're distance one. Cupid is awesome. And they're really powerful. I just listed off some fairly powerful ones for Here Be Monsters. Alright, lots of blabbing, lots of blabbing. Now, can you use some of these strategies at the lower levels? Yes, you can. But when you do that, you got to shrink your base a little bit. You're playing it more safe for then a smaller base size. What happens if you get rid of this stuff and you go down to just having 3? Well, then you're able to save 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 walls. You're able to save 8 walls if you do that. And those 8 walls you could then use to go to 3 walls thick. You could use then you can have a 3-wall thick base instead of a 2-wall thick base. So at those lower levels you can make it more secure, but you do that at the risk of not having as many tank buildings then. But if your tank buildings are high enough, it doesn't matter then. I usually like having more tank buildings. That's my preference. And that's why you can see some of my other designs. I actually have even more tank buildings in the center. It goes all the way out to there. I don't have that many tank buildings. But how to do that, you say? Well, you've seen in my other videos, what I do is then I don't have all this fancy stuff on the outside. All this fancy stuff on the outside I trim off and then add additional walls. How many walls would that take? Well, since it's 3 there, so since this is a 3 thick building, it would then take 6 walls in total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on one side. Well, dang it, that's only one side. You'd also have to consider the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'd actually take 12 walls to add, so you can have 2 additional buildings, 1 building there and 1 building there. It'd take 12 walls to then allow for that additional building. And that trims a lot. That's a lot of walls. To still be able to keep the similar setup to this. And you've seen me do, I've done it. It works. It's not horrible. But there come some complications from that. You run the risk of sometimes them hitting and breaking through the wall and all that kind of fun. And I decided, because I'm trying to do 3-man and 4-man, it's more appropriate to not take the risks then. Because then it's a risk on top of risk on top of risk on top of risk. The risks are way too great then. You got to eliminate some risk when you're doing 3-mans and 4-mans. And this is why I went to this. This is playing it safe. Hopefully I'm not blabbering on too much and you guys understand some of this, some of the crazy thoughts. So this is if you're playing it more safe, you would want to take this kind of route. You've seen my riskier setups, and the riskier setups do work. The benefits are quite there. Does that mean I don't like those other setups? No, I still like them. They're still useful. When I go back to that, and when I go back to those other setups where I have more buildings, and I will actually go back to that, once I get these suckers leveled up some more, I will go back to that. And what I'll do, I will just trim some stuff from the outer edge, because these aren't needed when you get the additional building in there, because your guy is so far from the outer edge anyway that these aren't really needed. So that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, which then lots you those 1, 2, 3, 4 still, but 8. You can see the problem there. 8 is still 4 off from what we need. Now you can either take those 4 for the additional allotment to make 12, or you can take them from the inside or outside. You could trim these off. You could trim these off here and still leave it so there's that one gap, so it runs less risk of your guys hopping the wall. So there's just some ideas for you guys, you know, blabbing and showing you guys the different setups you can do. So that's some more ways of playing it if you want to make it safer, the building to be a bit more safer for yourself. Hopefully I've shown you the risky, I've shown you the safe, I've shown you the in-betweens between them. What's pretty much guaranteed for them to attack and kill your stuff is one wall. Having one wall, you run a high chance of them attacking right here. Now, I found that running one wall here, they do not. I found that when I remove this, they do attack there. Now, this is true for G and all those kind of levels. I don't know if it's true for A and B. Haven't really tried it much on A and B, okay? So on A and B, you might be able to remove that. I don't really have any of my heroes doing A and B anymore, except my Smurf. No, my Smurf is up to C. I don't really have anything doing A or B anymore, so I'm not testing this on A and B. You might be able to get away with one wall on A or B, okay? I'm only testing this stuff C higher. So if you want to play around and check to see if you can get away with a few of these walls, you might be able to on A and B, but on C+, nope, you're not. They kill you. I know this for sure. I've tried it. I've removed them, and they don't always attack there, but they do attack there often enough that it's really not worth it to do it. It's too much of a risk. Okay. Hopefully I've talked about most of the important things that you need to care about for base design. Now this is obviously for my setup, but a lot of this stuff holds true for the diamond, for everything else that you do. 3 walls, you're safer. 2 walls, you run more of a risk. Same thing with the corner setup. And the same thing with these little things that poke out. The same things you can actually do to those other bases as well. The same thing, same zigzag formations you can make them do. Same changing up their pathing by putting flowers or stuff in the way. This stuff can make them path more. So you can come up with creative ways of making them go where they shouldn't go. And giving your stuff more time to attack them. Especially if you have more decorations. I don't have a ton of decorations. Alright. So hopefully I've described this enough. This particular setup will work when they have the additional base. And you can see what you do is you just have more in there. You just remove the bombs on this outer edge here. And then you have the bombs and stuff on the outer edge. And you just move everything down one. And you know what? It'll actually be awesome for 3-manning it. And you'll see why, and just looking at it, you'll understand it. Just figuring out. Pretend these bombs here were another base, because you can see 4 can fit there, so another base is there. You have this base empty. You have nothing in this base, and you have nothing in the base over here, and you just have the 3 in the center. What does that give you an advantage? Well, 3 or 4 in the center. So you can have 3 or 4 in the center here. If you have 4 in the center, you just have 2 extra shield bases. So this base will shield you, and the base over here will shield you then as well. Another layer for stuff on your outer edge. And then if you have 3, then you have 2 shields on one side. Isn't that pretty cool? But let's move it back because I still use this base. It's still in use. Still in use. Alright. So this is when you 5-man it, you have it in a setup like this. When I 4-man it, I move it down here. Like so. And then I have all my bombs and stuff on this side. And why do I do that? Because then the center and the focal point, all these attack the center at the same time then. And then I use this as a shield base. But right now I'm 5-manning because I want the guaranteed shards. Because the EXP is like, now at this point. I was boosting all these guys up to 40. And you can see that I'm going to be at 100% soon enough. You can see my stuff there. My honor badges is coming. I'm going to be at 100k soon. And then I'm going to get one of them leveled up. Probably Spirit Mage. I'm probably going to level Spirit Mage. Or maybe Thunder God. Did I show you guys what I did to Thunder God? I didn't. Oh. Well, this is going to be a bonus for whoever stayed to the end. You're going to have to see some of the stuff I've done to Thunder God. I got him up to 6 stars now. He's looking nice. And my mage is at 5. So actually, this sucker hits harder. Maybe it'd be better to get my Thunder God up. But he already pretty much anything whenever he goes off, it's dead. Whatever he hits is dead. Even you can one-shot their stupid dino now. So it's pretty good. Yeah, if he goes off, the dino's pretty much dead. Which is why I really like making this corridor, because usually Thunder God goes off somewhere in that corridor. And boom! It just gets destroyed. Would it be cool if I could have a Reaper here? A Reaper or a Cupid. And, yeah. If we got both a Reaper and a Cupid, I'd throw the Cupid here. Yeah, no, Cupid here. Reaper here. And I would actually go without heals. That's crazy, but I would. It's me, don't worry. Alright, so that's some fun. Showing you guys some ideas here. So, remember, building placement is important if you don't want to get aggro stuff. You can see why I moved that far back, to make sure it doesn't pull aggro for my heroes. See? We gotta keep an eye on everything. I can actually move that one closer. There you go. Maybe I moved it when I was clicking on it at some point. Alright, so you can see the circle there. Good, good, good. And you can see why I did everything. Hopefully I make sense. That's some of the craziness, some of the ideas. Some of the different things you can do with this particular base setup, and some of the other base setups you've seen in the past to modify them to your own delight. And there you go. Hopefully this was useful for you guys, so you can understand some wall placements for 15, 16, and 17, and you can use it for even lower than that or higher than that. Just understanding where you can trim walls from, so you can, you know, go to be a bit safer on the outside edge if you trim. So, as always, it's very important to level your town hall. Your town hall decides how far you're going to make it in the game. The higher level your town hall is, the better you're going to do. If you really feel like you're being held back and you have a few gems, and you don't have enough gold in your vaults, it might be an okay idea to gem your town hall and get that up. Town halls are very powerful because they give you more walls, and walls are very important in the game. I don't think I've stressed that enough. Walls are important. They mean something. They give you more options. If you're finding you're having troubles on Here Be Monsters, a lot of times getting your town hall up one can do the difference. That's how I was able to clear H. I got from Town Hall 16 to Town Hall 17, and H was easy. I got it done. Poof. Second attempt, it was done. First attempt, I almost had it done. Second attempt, it was killed. Bringing your town hall up does matter. So, hopefully I've blabbed enough now. And helped you guys out a little bit with Here Be Monsters. At some point, I'm going to try and do a Here Be Monsters explaining the differences with the heroes and why you want certain ones for Here Be Monsters. This is going to be Here Be Monsters focused. This base is specifically designed for Here Be Monsters and not really caring about defending your stuff. Okay? If you want to defend your stuff, put your stuff in a circle around the outside edge. Okay? Circle the base. If you want to guarantee to Here Be Monsters victory, go for something like this. Or if you're lower level, put it 4 corners. Okay? Or if you're doing H, you're going to want 4 corners or 2 thick lines. So a line of stuff over here and a line of stuff over there. Or a line of stuff here and a line of stuff there. And then have your arrow towers fully garrisoned up and just peg away at them. Make them pay for attacking your stuff. Now that, if you have these fully garrisoned, hitting any of this stuff really hurts whoever's attacking them. They pay a heavy toll. They pay a heavy toll for attacking it. And then you can also just throw another one down there and just fully peg at them. But that's being cruel. This one's just more for farming G. And farming G is great for EXP. I love the EXP from G. But I've been chit-chatting long enough. I need to stop. Hopefully this demonstration on some walls and what you can do with them with this particular base design and some other base designs has been useful for you. So you can understand some of the theories behind the stuff. So, have a good one. See you next time.